Let's take a look at creating notes and documents in Maximizer. The Notes window makes it easy for you to keep track of all your interactions with your customers, and Documents window makes it easy for you to have a copy of anything of significance that you have sent to them. There are a couple of different ways that I can add a note to an entry. First of all, while I'm in my Details window, I can slide way over to the right here, and click on Add a Note. This brings up the dialog box that allows me, frankly, to write an essay if I'm so inclined. In this case, I'm just going to document the fact that I presented a proposal to Rennie. If this was a production database, I would probably put in a lot more detail about how I presented it, what his reaction was, and so on and so forth. You'll notice that the note is date and time stamped. I'm identified as the creator. I have the opportunity to give public access to this, or if it's necessary, I can limit the access to myself and make it private. I also set in the administrator module the different categories that I can use for notes, and I will identify this one as being a proposal note. I'll click OK. Now I can go over to the Notes window in Maximizer. I can do a refresh, and I can see the note that I have just put in for Rennie. If I want to, I can click on this, open the note up again. I realize this is an important note, so I'll go over here to the right and click on the exclamation point. Now when I click OK and save the note, you'll notice that it's become bolded, and I have an exclamation mark over here, which actually is in its own column that I can sort on. While I'm in the Notes window, I realize that I really want to add another note for Rennie, and so I simply come over here and click on this Add button, and I get the same dialog box as I had before. In this case, I've decided to make a note for myself that I have to remember to follow up with Rennie on this proposal and give him additional information that will help him make a favorable decision. Again, I consider this to be quite important, so I'll hit the exclamation mark before I go ahead and click OK. I might also identify this as part of the proposal program, and I'll click OK. And you'll notice now over here in my Notes window, I have two notes that are bolded, and each of them are identified by the type of note as proposal. Rennie asked me to send him a copy of the schedule of our complimentary training, and I decided it would be a good idea to put that into his Documents window for reference as well. So I come over here, I click on New Document, move this over to the side a bit and click on Browse, and I find what I want to include. I click OK, and there it is, the training calendar and links. I click on Properties so that I have a chance to identify the category of this as being related to training. If I want, I can put a description in here. You'll notice that it's date and time stamped for when it is added to the database, and I click OK, and I click OK again, and there it is. You notice that this is a Microsoft Word document. I can click on it, and Maximizer will open it up in Word so that I actually have a chance to review that document if that's important to me. You may have noticed that when I clicked on Add a New Document, I actually had the opportunity not simply to browse for a single document, but I could have added up to 10 different documents at once, as long as the total did not exceed 50 meg. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to slip over to my training agendas, and I'm going to select all 7 of these, and I'm going to simply drag and drop all these over into this area here. When I do so, Maximizer brings them all over for me, lines them all up. One by one, I can click on Properties and identify these as being related to training, and click OK. I will click OK, and Maximizer will add them to my list of documents down here. You notice the ones that I quickly tagged as the category training are identified that way. All of them here are Word documents. Every one of them has been added conveniently into my Documents window for Rennie. My History window allows me to actually see all of my notes and documents arranged in a chronological order. You will notice that the 2 important documents I had identified with exclamation marks in my Notes window show up here at the top of the History window. They are in their own chronological order, and beyond those 2, all the rest of the things that I've added, both documents and notes and so on and so forth, are all there in their respective chronological sequence as well. While I'm here, I realize there's another place that I could add a note if I wanted to. I can simply click on that little bar there and put this as a test note from history and click submit, and that now becomes a part of my record here in my history window, and also becomes a record of my notes over here in my notes window when I click a refresh, and I find it right there, test note from history. If I decide a note is no longer quite as important as I had once thought, I can click on it, remove the exclamation mark, and click OK. It is no longer bolded here, and when I go over to my history window and click refresh, it is no longer up here at the top of the list, but rather it has been put back into its normal chronological sequence right about there, present a proposal to Rennie. In both the Documents and the Notes window, I have various filters that make it easier for me to select what I want to look at. Here in the Notes window, for example, I have two filters right over here. I have this check marked on Show All, which means that regardless of whether I'm looking at Sunrise Adventures or one of the employees of Sunrise, I'm still going to see all the notes. When I uncheck Show All, Maximizer is only going to show me the notes that apply to the entry that I'm selecting. For example, Rennie Chung, I have 2 notes. For Jin Smith, I have 1 note. For Sunrise Adventures, I have 4 notes. When I check Show All, I get to see all the notes, and that would again be true of regardless of whichever entry I'm pointing at. Next to Show All is this filter. When I click on it, it allows me to show notes for all dates or for a selected period of time. If I have a lot of notes in my database, I may not want to look at all dates. I may want to restrict that somewhat. In fact, I may even want to make a selection of a custom date range to limit the number of notes that I have to look at. Furthermore, I can uncheck all the different types of notes and select only the ones that are of current interest to me, or again, I can check all if I just as soon see all of them, and I can click OK. The filters in the Documents window work much the same way. I have the similar Show All functionality here, and then over here with my other filter, again I can select all dates. What's interesting here though is that I can sort by my document categories. I can ask Maximizer to show me only those documents that relate to training. When I click OK, only the 3 that were tagged with the word training are the ones that I can see at that point. I can bring this filter back up and reselect all the other ones that are missing, click OK, and I'm back to seeing all of the documents that I have against Rennie's record. 2 final notes. I'll click back over to the Notes window. If I want to, I can come up here to Reports. I can generate a note report. I can do it on the current entry, all the entries in the list. I can control certain aspects of the notes that I'm looking at and click OK and get a note report. I can also go up here to my Preferences and go to Other Preferences and go to Logging and decide which different things I want to have actually show up with a record in my Notes window. So Notes and Documents is relatively easy to work with. It's comprehensive and it's searchable, and you can also reduce the amount of elements that you're looking in to kind of focus in on those notes and documents that are important for you as you consider any particular one of your entries. Have a great day, folks, and bye for now.